Hello, welcome to the podcast, Human Rights in America, a Revolutionary Mindset. I am your host, Sue Young. Welcome to the podcast, episode 10. Today's topic, LGBTQ plus issues, gender and sexual identity. In my last episode, I talked about how to become a great advocate for human rights, even those rights that don't apply to you. And I read a speech from one of the greatest human rights and women advocates of our times, Sojourner Truth. So if you didn't listen to it, go back and listen to episode 9. It's never too late. Today, I wanted to talk about issues that I have not specifically addressed previously. Gender and sexual identities. Current LGBTQ plus issues. And I understand that not everyone fits into this category. I don't, but that doesn't mean that we can't educate ourselves. So let's begin. I am the Google queen. So I Googled free information, free classes regarding LGBTQ. A Coursera course came up. I hope I'm saying that right. If you don't know about Coursera, it's an online learning platform offering self-paced guided projects and on-demand courses on a variety of subjects. The platform partners with universities and companies, including Amazon Web Services, Google, and IBM, to provide courses. Users can earn digital certificates to share on their resumes or with their LinkedIn networks. Courses are relatively inexpensive, and if you're not interested in getting a certificate, you can audit the course for free. I should get advertising payments for that. But anyway, I started auditing a course from professors at the University of Colorado entitled Queering Identities, LGBTQ plus, Sexuality and Gender. I'm 3 hours in, and already I've read and learned so much. Some context before I tell you my next quote. When I was in law school, I had a quote taped to my desktop. It said, "I really don't know until I prove that I know." No assumptions, no half-baked beliefs or thoughts would suffice. So, for an introduction or review, what does LGBTQ plus mean? L is for lesbian. Lesbian is defined as women who are attracted to women. The G stands for gay men who are attracted to other men, but it can also refer to women in a similar context. B, bisexual individuals attracted to 2 or more genders. T means transgender people whose gender identity differs from the sex that they were assigned at birth. Queer or questioning, or it can refer to those who identify outside of societal gender and sexuality norms, while questioning refers to those exploring their identity. My coursework referred me to a podcast called The Allusionist, which picks out one word, I assume from a dictionary, and dives into it. In episode 79, all about the word queer and reclaiming the word and using it today as an umbrella term. People for and against the use of the current use of the word queer. It was very interesting and enlightening. Check it out. Again, the title is The Allusionist, wherever podcasts are heard. The plus encompasses a spectrum of identities, including non-gender, queer, asexual, intersex, and others. The first and most important item here is to respect these terms as it shows respect and reflects individuals' personal identities and experiences. Remembering that we're discussing LGBTQ plus issues in the frame of human rights, we're all humans living on this planet. Or as Oprah frequently reminds us, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So I was reflecting on the days as a biology major. I know that in the animal kingdom, things are not so black and white as our human two-sex system. Many animals exhibit queer behavior, and some can change their sexes depending on their environmental needs. So why shouldn't we expect the same in our species? One major challenge for the LGBTQ community is discrimination. Individuals often face biases in employment, housing, healthcare, and public services. This discrimination can lead to significant mental health issues. According to some studies, LGBTQ youth are at a higher risk of experiencing mental health issues, including anxiety and depression. Moreover, they are subjected to bullying in schools. According to some studies, legal issues also play a significant role. In many places, protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity are still lacking. According to a recent ACLU article dated June 24th, 2024, it states that they are tracking 527 anti-LGBTQ bills in the United States. For example, South Carolina had greater than 16 laws pending, but only 2 are either advancing or signed into law. They include curriculum censorship and forced outing in schools. That law actually passed in May of this year. Illinois has 6 laws that were recently introduced, like the redefinition of sex and healthcare barriers, to name a few. If you're interested, go to the ACLU website, search attacks on LGBTQ rights, and look at the state map. Florida has 14 laws, which may include civil rights restrictions. Most have been defeated, but others are advancing or already passed into law. And while some countries have made strides in legal recognition, such as marriage equality, others still have laws that criminalize LGBTQ plus identities. In 2015, the United States Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, but challenges remain, such as healthcare, access for transgender individuals, and the legality of conversion therapy practices. Moreover, there have been recent legislative pushbacks against the rights of transgender individuals, particularly participation in sports and access to gender-affirming care. So this topic is hot off the press, issues that are rising at the Summer Olympics in Paris. In an Associated Press article dated August 7, 2024, women's boxing at the Paris Olympics has highlighted the complexity of drafting and enforcing sex eligibility rules for women's sports and how athletes from Algeria and Taiwan are left vulnerable in the fallout. In the 1960s, the Olympics used a degrading visual test intended to verify the sex of athletes. The modern era of eligibility rules are widely known to have started in 2009 after South African 800-meter runner Caster Semenya surged to stardom on the track as an 18-year-old gold medalist at the World Championships. She is the Olympic champion in the 800 meters in 2012 and 2016, but she is not competing in Paris because she is effectively banned from doing so unless she can medically reduce her testosterone levels. She is, however, still involved in legal challenge to the track's rules now in its 7th year. Testosterone levels, not XY chromosomes, which is typically the pattern seen in men, are the criterion of eligibility in the Olympic events, where the sport's governing body has framed and approved rules. That's because some women assigned female at birth and experiencing lives as women or girls have conditions called differences of sex development, or DSD, that involves an XY chromosome pattern or natural testosterone higher than the typical female range. Some sports officials say that gives them an unfair advantage over other women in sports, but the science is inconclusive. According to the article, female athletes of color have historically faced disproportionate scrutiny and discrimination when it comes to sex testing and false accusations that they are male or transgender. In the Semenya case, the judges at the Court of Arbitration for Sport acknowledged, in a 2-1 ruling against her, discrimination against some women was, quote, reasonable and proportionate to preserve fairness. Male athletes, they don't have to go through this. They're not required to regulate their natural levels of testosterone. And female athletes who do not have DSD conditions also can benefit. The idea that testosterone is some kind of magic bullet is actually not true, says an International Olympic Committee spokesman, Mark Adams, in Paris, as the women's boxing debate raged. Remember, our country constructed these social boxes. It was easier to put people into 2 gender boxes to fit in. You were either male or female. And as we discover other boxes, laws restricting their rights, we're not free until all of us are free. Look at the history of Blacks, immigrants, and women in this country, just to name a few. Higher testosterone levels testing versus chromosomal testing, in my opinion, smells of discrimination, especially when women of color are disproportionately affected. Let's shift gears and talk about ways to be a great ally to the LGBTQ communities. First and foremost, listen and learn. Take the time to understand the issues and school yourselves. Language matters. Use correct pronouns and names, and don't be afraid to ask someone what they prefer if you're not sure. If you make a mistake, and you will, don't make it the responsibility of that person to tell you that you're fine, that you're a good person, when they were actually the ones that were offended. Don't make someone else be responsible for your feelings of inadequacy when you actually offended that person. Another critical aspect is standing up against discrimination. If you witness someone being treated unfairly, speak out. So I'll give you an example. When I lived in Brooklyn a few years, I was going around the corner to a bodega to get something to eat. When I turned the corner, I saw a woman and a man arguing on the street. The woman was the aggressor, pushing the man as he was walking away. Nevertheless, I was scared because I thought at any moment the man was going to turn around and start beating up the woman. Fear must have been on my face because at that exact time, some man walked past me and explained what I was seeing. He said, "Don't worry, that man's not going to hit the woman because the man doesn't want the police or anyone else in the neighborhood to know that he's been in a relationship with a transgender woman." And you know what? The man never turned around. The man eventually rode off on his bike. But I was right, but it wasn't necessary. And lastly, engaging in advocacy, whether it's through volunteer work or supporting LGBTQ organizations, can significantly have an impact. Remember that being an ally is a continuous process. Stay informed on the issues and be open to feedback. And as always, look for ways to support the community, the LGBTQ plus community. In conclusion, today I've talked about definitions, legal challenges, and allyship. There are certainly more issues to discuss, and I encourage my listeners to keep the conversations going in your communities. Remember to like, share, and join me the next time as I delve into another pressing issue. Until next time, be revolutionary, be human.